So I've been doing a lot of reading of kind of like self-help books, other books kind of talking about whether it's scientific books, other just nonfiction books. And so I was thinking about it and I was like, well, I kind of want to switch up the flow and I want to start reading more fictional novels just because instead of like watching TV and watching a ton of these shows on TV, which there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but I wanted to get back into that habit of reading, but then also reading something where, just like how if I'm watching reality TV or watching some other kind of show, when I'm relaxed and not taking it so seriously, I want to be able to approach books the same way. Where yes, I can still read my nonfiction, my self-help, whatever, my, scientific books, but at the same time, I can also just crack open a good novel that'll make me laugh, that'll just kind of allow me to enjoy reading and not have to have this relationship with reading where I feel like every time I'm reading, I have to be getting something. I have to be learning something. I want to be able to create more of a chill atmosphere where I can just read for the sake of reading. And so I was looking into it a little bit and I was trying to find different kinds of books that I could read that would still be fun, but also that would be interesting to me. And so I ended up stumbling up across this book called The Rosie Project. And it seems like it's been getting really good reviews. And so I'm curious to know what you guys think if you guys have read this book and everything, because it's basically about this genetics professor and his name is Don Tillman, and basically he's trying to get married. And so it basically talks about how um he has this kind of like survey, I think, that he this like questionnaire basically that he's using to filter out an ideal wife for himself. And just reading this, it almost reminded me of the movie Mr. Malcolm's List. And I don't know if any of you guys got to see that movie on Netflix, but that was really good because that talks about how this guy, Mr. Malcolm, like had this list that he was essentially using to evaluate women that he wanted to marry because he was paranoid of choosing the wrong woman. And so I'm very curious to see that this book, I'm curious to see how it turns out because it essentially says that Don quickly disqualifies this girl as a potential wife, but he's drawn into Rosie's quest to find her biological father. And so when something like a friendship develops, Don must confront the spontaneous whirlwind that is Rosie and the decidedly unscientific conclusion that sometimes you don't find love, it finds you. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to read this and to kind of see how this book ends up going. And the goal is essentially to just react as I'm reading this book. So any takeaways that I'm having, anything that I'm thinking, it's almost going to be like one of those reacts like music channels where instead of like listening to a song and reacting to the songs, I'm hearing certain parts. I'm basically going to do that with reading, where I'm going to read this book and then any thoughts that come to mind as I'm reading these first two chapters, I'll kind of talk about it and we'll see how this ends up going. So it's interesting because I don't know if this book is written, it seems like it's written from the professor's perspective. And I'm trying to see, yeah, just from kind of reading through the first paragraph, it almost seems like it's written from the professor's perspective, which is interesting. And Asperger's syndrome. I remember learning about this in school, but I honestly don't remember what it is, if I'm being honest. If anyone knows what it is, definitely drop it in the comments below. Interesting. That's wild work. The fact he said he scheduled 94 minutes to clean his bathroom, it's one of those things where I'm sitting here wondering, like, is his bathroom just a hot mess? Or does he mean all of the bathrooms in his home and maybe he has like three or four bathrooms? That's kind of interesting. Yeah, 316 minutes per week, I guess, to clean bathrooms or to clean his house. It's kind of wild. This is wild. That so Jean is married to Claudia, but then one of the reasons that Jean wants Don to fill in for him is so he can hook up with this Chilean academic who's gonna be in town. So I'm just confused that so do him and his wife have an open relationship? Um yeah, that's pretty interesting there. It's interesting that Don talks about how one of his struggles is that he struggles to make friends. And it's interesting because now I already have this idea, this I can almost envision him, like you said, he's tall, he's in shape, he's really smart. So I can already picture this person who's tall and in shape and super intelligent, but unfortunately he just struggles to make friends. And that can be really difficult when you have the academic intelligence, but as far as actually making friends, there's just a disconnect there. It's interesting also how Dawn's first date with this girl, with one of Claudia's friends, um, was at a restaurant. Because let me know what you guys think in the comments, but I feel like going to restaurants for a first date can be hit or miss because personally, I prefer to get something like coffee where it's super chill, it's laid back, you can drink coffee, just have a conversation, and really get to know the other person. I feel like when food gets involved, it just gets a lot more complicated trying to balance what that dynamic is. Yeah, it's already interesting just from just being like 6, 7 pages into this book. It's interesting how analytical Don is because it's like he thinks about time so scientifically, where it's like, oh well, if something is at 7, he calculates he needs to get there at 6:57 or whatever, and give himself 3 minutes to set things up, and how he views conversation. If it's not productive, he kind of looks at things like that as a waste of time. So now, like being 6, 7 pages in, I'm starting to have a clear idea of why he struggles with dating, because it involves getting to know someone on a very practical level. And the thing is, if you don't know someone on, or if you're not willing to take the time to get to know these people, then yeah, dating is going to be extremely difficult. And so that's the vibe that I'm getting so far. Yeah, it is kind of funny though how he was supposed to be. It's funny how Don just doesn't pick up on like social cues, where like the girl like asks him basically about Gene, and essentially from the way she's asking about him, you can kind of infer that Gene had probably lied to her and told her that he was sick. But it's funny that he basically he didn't realize that until much after, until much later. All right, so far I would say the book is pretty good. I'm definitely excited to read it more. I like how so far the chapters are fairly short also, and the chapters aren't crazy long. But yeah, so far I definitely like it. It's going to be very interesting to see how Dawn's character kind of evolves as the book goes on. So I'm excited to kind of read more about that, and let me know what you guys think in the comments if you guys have read this book or not. And so yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.